All right, I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day to come and hear about what athletics is going to look like at East Long Meadow High School. Before we do begin, on this September 11th, out of respect for all of our first responders and in an effort to never forget the Americans who lost their lives on that day, I would like to have a brief moment of silence. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Kevin McGee. I'm the athletic director at East Long Meadow High School. I'm here with Diane Savacool, our athletic trainer. Our plan for today is to go through all of our athletic orientation items that are unique to this year and that we also consistently do from year to year. We have about 15 slides that we're going to share with you. After we go through all of those slides, we are going to open it up to questions and answers, but I'm just going to ask you to hold off on those questions until we finish our presentation, because the presentation, we have about 15 slides. The presentation may answer those questions for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so my contact information is there. The athletic trainer's contact information is on the screen also. The website for ELHS Athletics is up there. Be on the lookout for an email from your varsity coach with additional sport-specific information. Varsity coaches will not be meeting in person with families to conduct a preseason meeting. However, they will cover all important sport-specific information in their email that they send out by September 15th. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions. Please hold off on typing or asking those questions until the end, and we'll do our best to answer all of those questions. The webinar will also be posted on the LCAT channel, and this document will be emailed out to families via Plus portals. The meeting locations for the first day of practice on Friday, September 18th. For golf, at 3 p.m., all golfers will be reporting to Fenway Driving Range. Golfers will be notified about when they will be playing at Elmcrest, Franconia, or Veterans by the varsity coach. Boys cross country will be at 4 p.m. on the tennis courts closest to the parking lot. Girls cross country will be 3 p.m. on the tennis courts closest to the baseball field. Field hockey will be 3 p.m. on the turf field. Girls soccer, 3 p.m. on the grass fields in the back of the building. Boys soccer, 5 p.m. on the turf field. Girls volleyball will be 11th and 12th graders, 3 to 5 p.m. They will be outside behind East Long Meadow High School with 2 outdoor volleyball courts that are set up for them outside. 9th and 10th graders will be from 5 to 7 behind the ELHS. Football will be 4:30 on the grass field behind the high school. Cheerleading will not be meeting on Friday. They will meet Monday at 4:30 in front of the high school. Again, you don't need to write any of this down. This will be sent out through Plus portals, so you have all of this information in front of you. As far as the protocol for the first day, do not arrive on school property more than 10 minutes before your scheduled practice start time. Please wear a face covering when you get out of your car and go directly to your practice area. If you are walking with a group of people, then please social distance while walking. Per EEA guidelines, practice areas will be split into grids and only 25 athletes are allowed inside of each grid. Place your gym bag on the sideline of your practice grid 6 feet from other gym bags and stay with your bag. One of the coaches will check in to let you know if you are approved to participate. If the athlete is not approved to participate, then the athlete should go and see the athletic director in the front of the building. So I'll be sitting out in front of the high school for any athletes that are not approved to participate. I can tell you from experience, one of the most stressful times is when I have to tell an athlete that they're not approved to participate. It's stressful for the athlete, it's stressful for me because I really want them to be able to participate, and it's stressful for the parents. We will be working very hard in the week ahead to contact families to make sure that everybody's approved. But it's really important that we do those things that are required in order to be approved to participate. So requirements to be approved to participate on the first day. Athletes must be registered on Family ID. If you're not registered, we have no idea that you are participating. So it's extremely important that all athletes register on Family ID. I'll be sending out some spreadsheets early next week so that athletes can see if they're registered and if they have all of these things in. So the things that the athletes would need is a valid physical exam. It must be on file with the high school nurse's office within 13 months. All freshmen or new ELHS athletes must have a valid online concussion test. Instructions to this test are posted on the ELHS athletic website. The test must be taken with a computer, and it is critical that all instructions are closely followed. 11th graders will not be required to take the test if they have a previous valid score. This is new information for this season. It's probably the first time that many of you are hearing about this. In the past, families always sign off on a waiver for athletics. However, the waiver has changed due to COVID-19. So the parent and athlete must sign an updated informed consent COVID-19 waiver. This waiver will be posted on the ELHS athletic website. This waiver will also be emailed to families via Plus portals. Athletes will be required to hand deliver this document to the coach on the first day. So it's extremely important that athletes bring that with them on that first day. I'll send that out through an email. And that is new for this year and probably the first time that many of you are hearing about that. Please note that the athletic trainer, the nurse's office secretary, and athletic director will begin emailing the student athletes on their school email account if they are missing any of the required items to participate. Student athletes should be checking their school email account. That's the primary mode of communication that we will be using. If we still have multiple athletes that are not cleared, we will start making phone calls next week, but we start with the school email. So athletes, make sure you're checking those school emails to see if you're clear to participate. As far as what athletes should bring on the first day, make sure that you bring a gym bag to store all personal items, a personal bottle of hand sanitizer. The coach will also have an extra container, a personal bottle of sanitizing wipes. Again, if you don't have that, the coach will have an extra container. Please bring more water than you think you will need. So multiple bottles of water. We will have a refill station available, but due to the EA guidelines, we can't give access to water fountains, and we want to limit how many athletes are using that refill station. So it's really important that athletes bring a surplus of water for themselves. Don't share it with other athletes. I would suggest bringing double what you think you will need, especially for that first day, so that you don't run out. But if you do run out, a refill station will be available. Wear a face covering to your athletic grid and have a backup face covering in your gym bag. Athletes will be given one face covering from the athletic department. However, it is a family decision as to what type of face covering the athlete will wear. So don't feel obligated to wear the one that the school gives you. Families can choose whatever face covering they want their athlete to wear. Athletes should bring the signed waiver mentioned earlier and hand deliver it to the coach during check-in. I want to talk a little bit about team selections and opportunities to participate. I got a lot of emails about this after the last school committee meeting, and I wanted to clarify some of those statements. Our focus is on participation. There's no Western Mass Championship this year. We want to find a way for all of our high school athletes to participate, ideally in the sport that they want to. So the athletic department would like to have as many athletes participate as possible. During COVID-19, the last thing we want to do is cut players and tell them they can't be a part of the program. Varsity coaches will still have complete control over their varsity roster, and only the best players in the program will make the varsity team. However, we do have some unique things that we'll be doing this year. So opposed to other years, this year, juniors and seniors, this year only, that do not make the varsity team will have the opportunity to still participate on one of the sub-varsity teams in that sport. They will still need to work hard, have a good attitude, and earn playing time at the sub-varsity level. Freshmen and sophomores that do not make the varsity team will also have the opportunity to still participate on one of the sub-varsity teams in that sport. They will also still need to work hard, have a good attitude, and earn playing time at the sub-varsity level. Any student athletes that have a consistent negative attitude or do not want to work hard may potentially be cut from the athletic program. So that would be the only time that somebody would not have that opportunity to participate, is if they had a negative attitude and we worked with that athlete and the family. So there is still that potential, but it would be a last resort. Some programs may have such a large number of participants that we may need to add another sub-varsity team. Additional sub-varsity teams may not have the same number of competitions as other sub-varsity teams due to the limited availability of opponents. As far as what to expect at athletic competitions, the final competition schedule will not be finalized until September 28th. The schedule will be posted at the MIA website. As far as spectator attendance, it will be limited to either one spectator per participant or 0 spectators. The spectator guidelines may vary from school to school, and more information on this topic will be communicated to families before each athletic event. LCAT is working on being able to provide a live stream for many of our athletic contests. Any spectators that are permitted will be required to wear face coverings and also social distance. I did just finish a athletic directors meeting about 15 minutes ago. So there is an update to this. And the current update, again, this can change between now and that first day of competitions around October 1st. But the current communication from the PVIAC, that's the league that we're in, is it looks like for our away contests, there is a very strong likelihood that when we're the away team, we will not be able to have spectators. When we're the home team, it's the town's decision. So when we're the home team, I do anticipate that we will be able to have 1 or 2 parent spectators for East Long Meadow. I need to work that out with the health department and with the school system, but that's where it's trending right now. And then the one other thing that came up in the meeting was volleyball. Since it's indoors, there would be no spectators at indoor volleyball games. So that's a league directive, no indoor spectators. Away competitions, right now they're saying no away team spectators, and at home it's going to be a home decision. This can all change. We have about 3 weeks before our first competition, so there may be some changes, but that's the direction that it's trending. Families should be prepared to provide their own transportation to athletic events. Currently, the district will not be providing transportation. Athletic competitions this season will involve much less travel compared to previous seasons, and each athletic team will hopefully have 8 to 12 athletic competitions, depending on the sport. Each sport has multiple MIAA modifications that are posted on the ELHS athletic website. Due to various unique circumstances to this season, athletic competitions may occur Monday through Sunday. There may be more Saturday and Sunday competitions this year compared to other years, and that's mostly due to transportation issues. And we feel that if we have more Saturday and Sunday competitions, transportation may be easier for a lot of families. We'll still have those weekday competitions, but there will be more weekend competitions this year compared to other years. The number of sub-varsity competitions will most likely be less than the varsity schedule and will be dependent on if opposing schools have sub-varsity teams to play against. As far as restroom use during athletic participation, athletes should notify their coach if they need to use the restrooms. The doors near the varsity baseball field will be unlocked for restroom use. Only 1 male and 1 female are allowed inside the building at a time. Sanitizing wipes will be available outside of the bathroom to utilize inside of the facility. Student athletes waiting to use the restroom should wait outside and remain socially distanced. Athletes will not be allowed to enter any other part of the high school building. COVID-19 family monitoring expectations. Prior to attending practices or games, athletes should check their temperature. The checking of temperature is a family responsibility. If a student athlete has a temperature of 100 degrees or above, they should not attend practices or games. Likewise, if they have any other symptoms of COVID-19 infection, they should not attend practices or games. Student athletes who have symptoms of COVID-19 infection should follow DPH guidance regarding isolation and testing. For more detailed information, please see the MIAA rules, modifications, and guidelines. As far as COVID-19 concerns and questions, Mr. Page, our principal, Mr. Wright, our assistant principal, and myself will be monitoring the athletic program and our athletes. Additional event staff may be hired to help monitor the athletic program and assist with COVID-19 compliance. If any athletes or families have any COVID-19 related concerns as they relate to the athletic program, they should contact me. My phone number is there, and also my email address is there. The MIAA ELHS complete list of rule modifications and guidelines will be emailed to families via Plus portals, and it will also be posted on the athletic website. A few miscellaneous additional items before Diane talks about athletic training. The athletic fee will not be requested until late September. Based on the athletic schedule, the traditional $149 athletic fee may be changed by the school committee. More information will be communicated from myself in late September. All families with a credit from the 2020 spring season can apply that credit to any future athletic fees. Captain's practices should not be occurring during the preseason. There is no supervision during these practices and very little compliance of social distancing protocols. Each time that a captain organizes a captain's practice, they are risking a COVID-19 outbreak that could end the fall athletic season before it begins. Furthermore, captain's practices are not supported, encouraged, or insured by the MIAA or East Long Meadow High School. Athletes are encouraged to participate in individual or small group workouts. All right, at this time, Diane Savakul, our athletic trainer, is going to talk about informational items that relate to athletic training.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Diane Savakul, the athletic trainer. I just wanted to update you on some of the information that is important in my part of this clearances. As Mr. McGee said, the physical exams have to be current in the past 13 months. If it expires during the season, you will need one that day before you can continue to participate. Please notify us of your child's sport on the top of physical. The health department and health office receives a lot of paperwork, and it's easier for her to organize it if the sport is on top. When you're filling out your family ID registration, please make sure to fully complete out all fields, especially those involving emergency contact, previous injuries, medical conditions, medications, health insurance, and previous head injuries. Any and all medical concerns or conditions must be indicated while filling out this information. Remember, this is the only information the athletic trainer, the coaches, and the EMTs get about your child. Doctor's notes are needed anytime an athlete is seen by a doctor regarding any injury or illness. This is especially important now with this COVID information, that if a student's seen by a doctor, we need to know what they were seen for. The only acceptable notes that we receive are from MD, DO, PA, and P. We do not accept chiropractic or physical therapy office's notes. Doctor's notes can be faxed to the health office at 413-525-9781. That is the nurse's office that I have access to. After a suspected or diagnosed concussion, athletes need to be cleared by their PCP, not by urgent care and emergency department. The clearance has to come from their primary care. If a concussion was diagnosed, the primary care must clear the athlete to begin a return to play process with the athletic trainer. This process involves first taking the post-concussion testing and returning to within a reasonable level when compared to the scores on the original baseline testing. After the post-testing is at the normal level, the student will begin a progression of physical activities for a total of 6 days, as long as symptoms don't return, before they will be completely medically cleared to return to athletics. If your athlete has a return of symptoms or has continued symptoms during this time period, they must be reevaluated by their primary care physician before continuing. Please refer to the athletic website on the ELPS district website for more information on the concussion protocols. Per East Long Meadow athletic training guidelines, any suspected rash or skin condition that has the potential to be transmitted to another student will be required to be evaluated by a physician. There's also a state mandated MIAA heat policy that will be followed for all practices and games. If the temperature and humidity levels are at a certain high level, practices may need to be modified. So just be aware that if it is a super hot or humid day, your kids' practice times may be changed or canceled. Please make sure your students have all of their individual water bottles. Like Mr. McGee said, please bring extra, an extra mask and hand sanitizer, asthma inhalers, EpiPens, diabetic supplies, and any other medical supplies they may need with them at all times. I do not have any of these things or any over-the-counter medications to give them. If you have any questions, my email is there and my extension at school is 5305. And one last note, my office is going to be outside by the back entrance of the tennis courts by the baseball fields.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Diane, for sharing all that information. I'd like to thank everybody for viewing the ELHS virtual athletic orientation. The information reviewed during this presentation will be emailed to families, along with all the other documents that I said would be emailed out today. As you can see, the fall season will look different than any other season. I want to thank you all in advance for your support and patience while the athletic department and our coaches try our best to provide a positive and safe experience for our student athletes. At this time, parents and athletes, feel free to begin typing your questions. We'll do our best to answer all of them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Don, if you're able to open it up to questions, unless I'm the one that's supposed to do that.
You should be, oh, sorry, hang on.
So Kevin,
Can you hear
can
me?
you see the questions?
There is one there.
Got it. I
You
found
got
it.
Okay.
I was looking at chat. Sorry about that. All right. So first question, thank you for asking that question. Can you explain the rationale to allow seniors to play a sub-varsity at a sub-varsity level? Yes. So the rationale behind allowing seniors to play at a sub-varsity level, our number one priority this athletic season is for participation. They would not be taking a spot away from an underclassman because underclassmen will also have the opportunity to participate. We really feel, especially our seniors and our juniors, really all our athletes, they need to be a part of something. The social benefits of athletics, the exercise. I think, I don't want to speak for the school committee, I don't want to speak for the high school principal, but we want to provide as many opportunities as possible. And this is a unique year. Other years, we would not allow seniors to play on a sub-varsity team unless we needed that senior to compete. And if their rosters were low, but this year we want every high school athlete, every high school student to participate. If we need to have more teams, we will have more teams. So that's the rationale behind allowing it. Some of our sports would have way too many athletes on the varsity teams. We are restricted to roster sizes. And we do still want our varsity teams to compete, and we do still want athletes to earn a spot on the varsity team. So we're protecting the integrity of our varsity team and also giving all of our student athletes an opportunity to be a part of something. How will uniforms be handled is the next question. So as far as uniforms go, our coaches will be responsible for distributing those uniforms. We do have enough uniforms to field all of our teams. Athletes and families will be responsible for sanitizing and cleaning those uniforms after each day. In the guidelines that we send out through the MIA, those uniforms and all equipment should be sanitized by families when they go home each day. If transportation is not being provided and it is an away game, it seems to me that one parent should be allowed to be an away spectator. I agree with you that the question about one parent being allowed to be an away spectator. So like I said, the PVIAC right now is giving the directive that home schools can come up with their own policy following guidelines, and away schools would not be allowed at those schools. But I agree it would be great if we could have at least one family participant be a spectator at away schools, but it's going to be up to those schools. I do foresee myself and those local athletic directors such as Longmeadow, Minnechaug, we will all talk about those spectator items, and we're going to try to be as consistent as possible while following our health department regulations. So that does have the potential to change. But right now it's trending in the direction of no away spectators. But I will advocate that when we go away, it makes sense for one parent per away participant to be able to watch the game because there's no transportation. We are not alone with the transportation. The majority of other schools are also not providing transportation. So as far as football goes, the MIA did say that football in all of Massachusetts is going to need to compete in March and April. But at East Long High School, we are allowing football to practice under level 1 guidelines. So they'll be socially distanced, no contact. They'll be doing fitness, skill development. So football will have practices beginning on the 18th, but no competitions until March and April. The next question, are there evaluations prior to the first practice on Friday? So the tryouts and the evaluations begin on Friday, September 18th. So even though that's the first day of allowable practices, September 18th is also the first day of allowable tryouts. Do we know who our likely teams are? So as far as our opponents go, yes. So we're getting more clarification. We'll probably be competing against, in all of our sports, somewhere between 6 and 7 other schools. And the way it's looking right now, the schedules will not be finalized until October 1st, but it is looking like we're going to be competing against very local schools. Those schools would be schools like Longmeadow, Minnechaug, Ludlow, potentially Central, and then potentially Westfield in some sports. Every school offers different sports. So a sport like volleyball, where not many schools have teams, we may travel a little bit further. But a sport like soccer, where all of our local towns have the same team, we'll be traveling very limited to those areas. Again, it's not been finalized yet, but it'll be much more local travel. The next question, are volleyball players supposed to bring their own volleyballs? Good question. So as far as bringing your own equipment, for volleyball players, we will be starting outdoors, and we will have, the school will be providing volleyballs. There will be times in practice when you're using your own volleyball, when you're using the school volleyball. There'll be times when you're working with a partner, a time when you're working with 3 different people. But to answer your question, the school will be providing all of the volleyballs, all the soccer balls. Each soccer player will get their own soccer ball. It'll have their name on it. It'll be numbered. Volleyball players will have their own ball in practice, but they won't be actually taking the volleyball home with them. But volleyballs will be numbered, and you'll be using that same volleyball in practice. When you start hitting the volleyball with a larger group of people, the guidelines will require us to sanitize it in between each volley.
Kevin, excuse me, you saw there's one, I think maybe you skipped. Will students be allowed to travel together to away games?
Oh, good. Thank you for seeing that. So will students be allowed to travel together to away games? So that will be a family decision. The school it's going to be much more similar to like a rec department model. So think about when you had rec department games. Families could travel together. Families could go pick up their friend down the street and drive them. It would all be done with the families deciding how they want to transport the athletes to the athletic events. The school is not going to mandate any regulations with that family travel, but the families will be the ones that are deciding on how to get their child to the athletic event. Again, I apologize that the school will not be providing transportation at this time. There is the potential that may change, but at this time, we're asking families to plan for their own transportation. Next question, when will you have information regarding winter sports, wrestling and basketball? So we will be waiting until the MIAA sends out all of their recommendations and clarifications. So that'll probably be early November. I think early November, they will send out everything, and then we'll go through this same process where we will still be a remote school, most likely, and we will still need school committee approval to approve those winter sports. So it'll look very similar to the fall setting, where the MIA and the state send out their restrictions, and then we look to get school committee approval based on what we can run, and then the whole schedule again would be modified. Next question, will we hear from coach prior to Friday, or do athletes just show up? Good question. So all of the varsity coaches have all of the parent emails and student athlete emails that were used to register the athletes on Family ID. So they have all those emails. They will be sending out a sport-specific email to all of those families by September 15th. So the deadline that I gave those varsity coaches is make sure you send that out by September 15th. Some will start receiving stuff today, maybe this weekend. If you don't receive anything by the end of the day, September 15th, feel free to reach out to me. They are using the Family ID emails. So it's important that when you registered your son or daughter, that you put in the parent emails and the student athlete emails, and that's where they will be communicating. They will not be doing an in-person preseason meeting. Once teams are established, we will look into potentially having an in-season parent meeting, but we need to follow restrictions on how many people would be at that meeting. But we're going to wait until teams are finalized before looking into having that in-person meeting. Is there an estimate on when the team rosters will be announced? So for East Long Meadow, we always encourage varsity coaches to evaluate for at least 3 full days before making any initial decisions. So every sport's different, but we're looking for 3 days of evaluations of the athletes. After those 3 days, some sports will narrow it down to varsity candidates, some will narrow it down to JV candidates, some will finalize their rosters. Some sports may need 5 days to finalize their rosters, depending on if it's a new coach, depending on how many people are trying out. But as far as finalizing those rosters, the initial part would be after 3 full days of practice. Some won't be finalized until 5 days to a week, depending on the sport. How will locker rooms be handled? Do players have to arrive fully dressed? So the school committee and the high school administration is going to keep the entire school building closed to athletes, with the exception of those bathrooms in the back of the building near the baseball field. So locker rooms will be closed. If we're asking athletes to come to practice fully ready to go, not to get there more than 10 minutes early. The coaches have probably said in the past, hey, be there 15 minutes before practice starts. That's not the case this year. I talked to all the varsity coaches. I met with all of them a few days ago. We went through all of these guidelines, all these expectations, and they know that athletes are going to be getting there anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes before their starting time. So they may need a little bit extra time to get ready, but they should come ready to go. They should go directly to their assigned area. If there was a situation where they did need to use the bathrooms, they would be able to go into the bathrooms, 1 athlete at a time inside the building. And those will be in the back of the building. The locker rooms will be closed during the fall athletic season. What is the status of the lift program? So as far as lifting programs, I think you're probably talking about Mr. Lee's lifting program that he's done in the fall. The weight room will also be closed. All the building will be closed. But if you're looking to do some type of fitness, I would definitely suggest either signing up for the cross-country team. They'll be really focusing on fitness. And then also the football program will be doing their football skills and drills of about 3 days a week, and they'll be focusing on fitness on some of those other days. So if you're not interested in cross country and you're just interested in lifting, even though the weight room will be closed, we will be doing some fitness classes outdoors that are part of the football program. Will the snack shack be allowed to open? That's a good question. At this time, best case scenario, we would have 1 or 2 spectators allowed per participant out on the turf. So that's best case scenario that I've been told. So I don't know how feasible it would be with the snack shack with that number of participants. I will reach out to the health department. I don't think the school will be, I don't know. I'll have to look into the snack shack. I don't want to say no, but it doesn't look good. But I'll look into the snack shack question. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. All right, another question. What happens when an athlete or coach tests positive for COVID? Will other athletes have to be quarantined? What's the procedure? So that procedure is in the MIA guidelines that I'll be sending out. A couple of notes on that. Practices, coaches will be taking attendance. They will be limiting groups to 5 to 10 student athletes in each cohort, and they'll be documenting when athletes are in that group. Coaches will document when they do inter-squad scrimmages where one of their cohorts may be participating against another cohort. And they will also be documenting what they're doing in practice. They will be doing all of that documentation so that we can share who the athletes came in contact with during each practice, so we can share that with the health department or with the school if there was a positive test. So we will be keeping track of and documenting on school grounds who the athletes are interacting with and going with. I'm going to read you the statement from the MIA as far as positive tests. And again, it is going to be in that MIA document that I send out. Student athletes and coaches who are diagnosed with COVID-19 infection may return to school once they have been afebrile. I learned that means without fever for 24 hours and with improvement in respiratory symptoms, and once 10 days have passed since symptoms first appeared, according to DPH guidelines. In addition, persons with COVID-19 infection need to receive written clearance from their healthcare provider in order to return to sport. Student athletes and coaches who were exposed to COVID-19 should not participate in practices or games until their 14-day quarantine is completed. So that's in that MIA document that's going to be sent out. If there was a positive test, I can promise you that I'll be communicating with the EL health inspector and with our town nurses, and I will really defer to them, and we'll defer to the DPH guidelines. And if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to type those in. I am available via email, via phone call, if more questions come up. Again, be on the lookout for those emails from coaches by September 15th. If you have sport-specific questions for your coaches, their email addresses are posted on the athletic website. So sport-specific questions can go there. Be on the lookout for the email from me that's going to have the MIA modifications, the waiver, today's presentation. Those will all be in the email that you received from me today. And today's meeting will also be posted on the LCAT website. It'll be recorded, so you can view that then, or you can send it to anybody that may have missed this meeting, because I know people might not have been able to participate today. So without seeing any more questions, I want to thank everybody for attending. Oh, got another question. If a student is interested in just the workout portion of the football practice, but does not want to participate in football, yes, so that is possible. I'm meeting with the football coach today, and I will bring that question to the football coach of what that schedule is going to look like as far as fitness. I don't know what that answer is going to be about just working in that workout thing, but I would really highly encourage cross country as a sport if they're looking to improve their physical fitness. Cross country is not just going to be running. There would be a lot of other activities to improve physical fitness through cross country. It's a great sport. I can't recommend it enough. So again, thanks for attending. Feel free to reach out to me with questions. Thank you.